If you've wandered in here off the street, then first of all, pull up a chair and grab yourself a coffee. But this isn't what we normally do here. Normally, we mostly look at old video game magazines and the stories within. If that's your bag, and if I haven't annoyed you by the end of this, do a sub and such. What I'm here for today, though, is to tell you about the roaming Spectrum. For this is a Spectrum like no other. I am not the first custodian of this little computer. By the time you see this, I will not be the current one. The next one will not be the last. You could be the last. This Spectrum is on a journey, one that started 18 months ago when Henry from the Retro Hardware Discord and Lee from More Fun Retro got together on a plan to send a Spectrum around the world to many fine YouTube and retro semi-personalities. Each of them would perform an upgrade, or include an accessory. Or, in the case of those of us less hardwarely gifted, just taking it on adventures, ideally at least semi-unique to their part of the world. And here's the bit where you come in. Do you want the best conditioned Spectrum in the world? With games, accessories, and one hell of a story? Well, you might get it, because it will be raffled off in aid of the befriending scheme. Lee.
The Befriending Scheme is a wonderful organisation which provides friendship and learning opportunities for vulnerable people. They run local hubs where the people they help can be supported in making and maintaining meaningful friendships. The scheme also runs a community care farm called the Red Rose Community Farm, and I know how amazing that place is as my own son Thomas goes there a couple of days a week and he tells me just how incredible it is.
So far, the Spectrum has been recapped and had its RAM fixed by Henry and Lee. It went to the US, where it took tours of towns, saw New England and went to the Vintage Computer Festival in Dallas. Along the way, it now has a new power jack and acquired a Dandinator dev cart. It went to the man I call 3DIY in the Canadian wilderness. It took a 3,000 kilometre road trip across Canada with Canadian retro things. It got a fancy new sound card. It travelled to Perth to see Chris from This Week in Retro and the Perth Amiga users group. It was spruced up by Mr. Lurch, who also added a couple of Spectrum compatible gamepads, while Factor of Mac gave it a power lead with a switch. And then it came back to the UK where, and this is the point the rest of us absolutely gave up trying to compete on coolness factor, it flew with the actual freaking red arrows. Look, there it is. From there it's been to my old mate Seb, who took it on a little trip to Cambridge and has bundled a bonus, but broken, Sinclair calculator. Then to Retro for You, where Neil asked for my address. Because if you've been following the story, you knew all that. And if you haven't, check the playlist in the description because it's all chronicled for you, the eventual winner. I, of course, have no talent in modding at all. I don't own any useful accessories unless you want a Sega Saturn Action Replay, which for some reason I have several of. So I signed up to the Take It on a Trip option. First, I felt it should experience a proper British barbecue, and luckily John, a friend and former work colleague, does just that every summer. The Spectrum came along, where it was immediately a minor celebrity as everyone was sharing their memories of getting their start with 80s computing, a fairly universal experience for a group of 40-something nerds. But that's not good enough for such a celebrity as this ZX Spectrum. It needed to meet some real stars, and thankfully I know a couple. David Bowie is well known as a tech fan, appearing in the game The Nomad Soul, and of course Ziggy Stardust was memorably parodied on the Spectrum in Rockstar Ate My Hamster. He was delighted to make the acquaintance of our ZX Spectrum in a scenario that in no way implies I waited until super late at night to make sure no one caught me doing this nonsense. This statue is just off Market Square in Aylesbury. Despite Buckinghamshire containing the town of Buckingham, Aylesbury is the county town. The character of Ziggy Stardust debuted in Aylesbury, and the Market Square is mentioned at the start of 5 Years, off the album The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust.
Pushing through the Market Square.
This, incidentally, is also the same Market Square in the song Market Square Heroes, the first successful single from prog rock band Marillion, also strongly associated with the town. In that Market Square you will find a pair of lions from Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee, and of course the Spectrum had to pose for a photo with one of them. Also strongly associated with Aylesbury is the comedian Ronnie Barker, 3/4 of the two Ronnies by volume. I caught him admiring the town's new waterside theatre on the banks of the Grand Union Canal, and he was theoretically delighted to pose with a fellow icon of Great Britain. Ronnie began his acting career here, albeit back in Market Square in a production of Quality Street. There was one more stop for the Spectrum though. Quality Mastodon poster, and unfortunately for him, my friend for the last 33 years, James Off, was passing through town with his wife Jackie, and importantly, their 2 new electric vehicles. Sir Clive was all about electric technology, of course. The Spectrum is the famous product, but let's not forget after that he invented 2 massively ahead of their time forms of transport. The Sinclair C5 is the well-known one, and in that respect he foresaw the rise of electric scooters nearly 40 years later without quite the technology to fully make it work. Many people will mock the C5 and make videos doing so, but as often Sir Clive had the right idea. Those videos miss a trick because they don't mention his follow-up, which was even more visionary but even less successful. This is the Sinclair's Zyke. The Zyke is an e-bike. It does 15 miles an hour. It can be recharged in an hour. It has an up to 3-hour battery life assisting the user with their pedalling. It even has regenerative braking. Awfully familiar, isn't it? And Sinclair launched their version in 1992, 30 years ahead of its time. Sinclair hoped to sell 10,000 a month of them. In the end, maybe 2,000 were ever made. The problem was, this is Clive doing 2020's technology in 1992. The Zyke costs £500, that's well over £1,000 now. To even hit that price point, the Zyke skimps elsewhere, most notably those small wheels. People reported feeling unsafe on them, and perhaps more comically claimed a vehicle capable of the maximum speed it was legally allowed to do lacked power. Even so, he did not drop the idea, and at about the same price in 2015, the A-Bike Electric did much the same job. So while we cannot possibly know what Sir Clive would have thought of the belated rise of the electric vehicle, I personally think he'd approve. Possibly his taste would slide more to the everyman EVs like Renault's 5 or the Honda Super N, rather than the BYD Seal and Hyundai Ioniq 6N we have here. After all, with over 600 horsepowers, the Ioniq 6 is capable of a little more than 15 miles an hour. Still, these represent the future of transport in their own ways. Thus, James could not have chosen a better t-shirt despite not knowing of this plan at all. But by the time you see this, the Spectrum will be on its travels again, in the direction of RMC The Cave in Stroud. There it will hook up with Luis Carrera and make one more foray into the European continent. Where will it go next? Where will it end up? Will it be with you? Stay locked to this channel and all the others for your chance.